seagulls follow trawler. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Here we go, the Monday Club is back, and we have got a third guest on with us tonight as well. Usually it's just me and Jonathan, brothers Boyce, if you will, on a Monday, but Judge Cairney has decided to make his Monday night appearance. What was tying you up so you missed the Sunday blether yesterday? Brilliant to have you on tonight. We've got an action-packed show and what is a real action-less period right now. If you're a Celtic fan, it's boring as fuck, all these internationals. It's driving everyone up the wall. I know Scotland have had a couple of good results in that, and I'm trying my best to be relatively excited about it, but I don't know. I think I'd be faking it if I said I was buzzing out my head about anything that's happened with the national team. I just want the Celtic stuff back, all that good stuff. Obviously, on the Monday night, before we get kicked in, to all the discussion, and we're going to have quite an open debate tonight about the TV deal. We're going to look at the injury list. Is there one beginning to pile up from the international break? Still, obviously, some fixtures to be played as well. We want to keep that as limited as possible because we all know Celtic's second string might not quite be as strong as what we once thought it was after our last outing at St Mirren. We're going to talk as well about what our hopes and what our expectations are for the next the next chapter of this season, will we call it, up to the World Cup. 13 fixtures, 3 different competitions to be played in. Obviously, we'll see the Champions League group be decided before the World Cup. We'll be nearly at the halfway point in the league by then, and we'll have another round in the League Cup to have navigated as well. Tricky one away at Fir Park. So we'll be talking about hopes, aspirations for all of that stuff, and we'll maybe have a wee look at the first chapter as a whole. I'm just calling it chapter now, whatever you want to call it, chunk of the season, I don't really care. And we'll maybe reflect on that and see how it's all been going under Ange so far, how far his evolution has been taken this season. Before we get stuck into that, a big thank you for that, guys. Do hit the like button, as Brown Warrior is reminding you, as 24 of you already have done. If you want to share the show, that would be brilliant, because obviously slow Celtic weeks can mean slower buses, although ours tends not to go too slow. But if you do want to like, share, subscribe, that would be great, all that good stuff. And if you want to become a member, you can do that as well. Mark Cairney, how are you, mate? Good to have you back on.
I'm doing very well, mate. Sorry I missed yesterday's show, but I had to go make pots of soup and save the world, mate. Sorry about
that. Mate, not all heroes wear capes.
I know, mate. Some wear black shirts and check trousers, mate. You know what I mean?
With the judge's wig. Do you wear one of those big wigs as well, mate?
Well, mate, Mate, it kept on dipping into my soup, mate. I had to take it off, man. It was all soaking up like cotton buds, mate. It was brutal.
See, instead of a
But
spoon, you just use a big hammer. See, instead of a
mate,
spoon, you use one of those big
was
mallets.
it call it? Is it a gal? Was it you call it a gallet? Was it they call the judges'
That is called
hammers?
I don't have a clue, man. I don't have a
No, I
clue.
just use that, mate. I just use that,
Jonathan,
mate.
welcome
A
back.
gavel.
A what?
Is it
What?
a judge's? I don't know, mate.
A gable. Gable.
no.
Is that
Gable.
Gable? Gable says Brownmore. Jonathan, how are you, mate? Enough of that nonsense. How's your
Yeah,
back? Have you back?
I'm good. I'm good. It's good to be back on Monday. Looking forward to finally getting a bit of normality back with the football at the weekend. Can't say I've been too enamoured with the international break. It's not really been tickling my fancy too much, although did make a wee bit of money on Saturday off Scotland, so it wasn't all bad.
Well done,
Good
mate.
boy.
Well done. What was the bet? You can't just leave us hanging like that,
It was
mate.
Scotland to win, Scotland most corners and Ireland most cards at 6-1, £10 on, 60 quid back. That was all right.
Think of that. Like, that just blows my mind. Like, how you even. I take it that was suggested, that bet or something. You're not just like, I've been watching it. Do you know what I think is going to happen in this game today? And you searched for that. I take it it's a suggested bet or something.
Oh, it's like one Paddy Power. It's like one of those enhanced bets. But Celtic do them as well all the time. I quite like that wee bet. It's quite a good one. Keep it in your back pocket. That's my tip for the day.
Thanks, Jonathan. I appreciate it, mate. And don't spend all that 60 quid at once. It is my birthday soon, remember. Right.
Aye, that Aaron Moy top needs to get bought. I think that'll cost me 60 quid. So.
I think it's that bet is safe in my hands, that one, Jonathan, to be fair, speaking of bets, because there's no way I'll lose that bet anytime I need to wear an Aaron Moy signed top. But enough of my agenda-driven nonsense, Jonathan. We will talk about, obviously there's been a wee bit of news today, which I think we can actually get stuck right into, because we've not got any recent results to sort of reflect on, and we'll probably be using the TNF as more of a build-up for the weekend's fixture. So, we can have a wee bit of a deeper dive into this one today. Jonathan, I will come to you first, as you are the staple on the old Monday club. The TV deal's edging closer. It looked like Rangers and Livy were the ones who hadn't replied, but Livy have now agreed. Rangers are left in isolation on this one. 11 clubs have agreed to the SPFL TV deal with Sky being extended. The money being reported around 29.5, let's just call it £30 million per season. It's a jump up of about 5 million. You could look at that as 20% increase, Jonathan. Obviously, the current deal still had a few years left to go, and a lot of people are a bit confused as to what the sort of the motivations are for Sky to want to call the terms just now, and whether there's a wee bit of us diving in too quickly and taking a deal that, as Phil McGinley said in the comments, he thinks is a horrific deal. Kaiser agreeing, he says the deal is a joke. Monty's saying the deal is total pish. I'm going to play devil's advocate with a couple of aspects of it, because I think we need to do that and have a wee bit of balance here, and remember the waters that we swim in and the unpredictability of Scottish football. And I think as well, recent history tells us that we could be, we're only 2 minutes away from an absolute disaster in Scottish football. Armageddon, some people want to call it at times. Remember all that shit? But, Jonathan, what was your sort of takeaway before I try and convince you of anything otherwise? What was your sort of instant reaction to seeing that the Sky and the SPFL are going to be working till, I think it's 2029-30? Which seems an astronomical long time. But for 20% more money than what they were before.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to that word we used to describe the Aaron Moy signing, underwhelming. I wouldn't say it's one that I'm particularly excited about. I think there was more money to be made, and I think a lot of fans will share that viewpoint. I think with the way that, particularly Celtic and Rangers have been doing, obviously Rangers run to the European final last year, both clubs being in the Champions League, does give us a lot more exposure, which would have hopefully meant you're going to get better deals further down the line, because that wasn't up for renewal for a little while yet anyway. Hearts obviously going to be playing in the Conference League there as well, so there's further exposure there for Scottish clubs too. So for me, it just kind of feels like it's a little bit knee-jerk to be jumping the gun and signing up to a new deal so quickly. I also kind of look at it and think there was perhaps more money to be made. It doesn't feel like a brilliant deal on the face of it when you're just looking at the financials. of it to me either. And I just kind of think, with the more exposure that, Celtic, Rangers and the other Scottish clubs are going to get, particularly in European football, with both being in the Champions League and third place now being guaranteed group stage football as it stands at the moment, you've got an opportunity there for Scottish clubs to really begin to make a bit of a mark in Europe, advertise the brand a bit more. And, if it all goes positively, then you could be looking at a far better TV deal than what's been put on the table and what the clubs have accepted just now. I guess perhaps from the club's point of view, they're maybe looking at it on the flip side of thinking, oh, fuck, this might end up just going the other way, and this little run in the Champions League for Celtic and Rangers might only be a year or two, and then it's just back to not playing in the group stages, back to just failing in the qualifiers every year. They're not getting that exposure. So from the other club's point of view, I kind of get it from the fact they would want a bit of security there, knowing they've got that deal in place. But I've got to say, from my point of view, I look at it and think this could be a missed opportunity not to have made more money.
Kaiser's telling us it's like his morning wood that he gets now. He's in his 40s. He says it's very underwhelming. So thanks for that feedback there, Kaiser. Good to know, mate. Jonathan raises an interesting point. Now, I think it's easy to go, why are we committing to that when potentially we could be looking at Rangers and Celtic in the Champions League year on year right now? And that was my initial reaction to it when I seen it. I thought, well, that we could be on the cusp right now of enhancing our sort of profile and reputation as a league with, even Hearts being in the Conference League. Say they were to get back-to-back wins against Fiorentina. Unlikely, I know, but just imagine that they were to. Something like that, and before you know it, their stock rises, and then next year we've got maybe even 4 teams in group stage football, and Celtic and Rangers still in that Premier competition, and maybe one of them is to qualify, or right now Rangers are the Europa League runners-up still. So I think obviously initially my reaction was that, but of course what we've got to remember is if Sky have renegotiated the deal midway through the contract right now, because they're basing it on, they're seeing an upsurge in perhaps the reputation of the league because of Rangers' exploits in Europe. There's no reason to say, though, that in 2-3 years they might not do the exact same thing again, because now they've set a precedent for it. They're happy to rip up a term midway through it and offer improved terms if the league is improving. So I think sometimes when you think about it that way, this doesn't mean it's 7 years and we're not going to have any other offer from Sky during that time if the league trajectory and profile is to continue to be increased, is it?
No, Jonathan made a good point. He actually stole my point, actually. I was going to say, I think it's not a coincidence that the coefficients went up and they've all of a sudden come in pre-season to negotiate a good deal or a new deal. As you say, that can be negotiated again, I'd imagine, in the middle of the process. I think there's always that scope to do that. But I totally agree with Jonathan. I think the Sky's obviously their contract renewal team has looked at this and says, look, this might be something we need to look at, because the Scottish football is only up again just now, and with 2 Champions League teams, I think regardless of how we perform this season, I think the pot's going to be there for us for the next 2 or 3 seasons. I think Rangers getting to the final, us getting 2 this season, Rangers qualifying as well, and we've already picked up a point. I think Rangers have picked up a few points as well. Hearts have got an away win as well in Europe already. So it's actually looking no too bad, mate. I think you got to look at the commercial aspect of the Sky deal and the initial financial aspect of the Sky deal are 2 different things. It's simplistic as a football fan just to look at the bottom figure and see, okay, it means Celtic are going to get 2.6 million. That's not necessarily the case. I think when you're talking to a potential sponsor and they're looking at what platforms you're broadcasting on, there's no bigger platform in probably British football, almost European football, than Sky TV.
Correct.
Now, if you're telling Adidas, for talking's sake, or Nike or Umbro that Sky is your main broadcaster of your bread and butter product, that opens you up to 100 different countries. That opens you up to avenues in Japan that might not be open to a BT Sports, for talking's sake. So Celtic might be keen to sign the contract because see that extra 500 grand that Rangers want to haggle with 10 months. Celtic just want the deal signed. I think Rangers probably need the 500 grand or £1 million more than Celtic. Although I'm pretty sure Celtic would welcome £1 million. But it's not just about the bottom line. I think for your Hearts, your Hibs, your Dundee, your Kilmarnocks, see that initial 2.5 million or that £2 million. That's their end goal, really. matches against Celtic and Rangers is their full exposure. If
Yeah.
if they're able to provide content to their fans in Australia or America, build up a small wee pockets of fan bases over the world, all the better for them. Whereas Celtic and Rangers, well, Celtic's master plan with signing these deals is to grow the brand commercially with the original suppliers and future suppliers, but also grow the brand to the certain countries that they're going to be dishing them out to. I mean, Sky are hard taskmasters, I'd imagine, to deal with if you're getting into the Japanese market. That adds extra money onto the Japanese deal. That
Yeah, of
adds
course.
extra kudos when you're speaking to high-end sponsorships, Coca-Cola for talking sake. Who's backing your broadcast? Who's got your broadcast rights? Well, the very biggest and very best is Sky, and that's who's got us. Our production team is award-winning, etc., etc., etc. I think we're never going to get the European TV pool where we get 10% because we're 10% of the TV pool in Scotland and Britain. It's never going to be a case of a £3 billion deal for the UK for Sky Sports and Celtic and Rangers and Hearts and Hibs get 300 million of that. It's never going to be parity. We all know that.
Yep.
So until we're in a situation, and it's many years away, until we're in a situation where we're providing good enough product that Sky are going to be taking us a bit more seriously with the bottom line figure, there's no point in us getting our hair all tangled. When we mentioned it offline there. Now, if you look at the papers, you'll see Iceland, they're getting double the money we're getting. But see Iceland, see Holland, these Scandinavian countries, they're selling every single match to their broadcasters outright, okay? Celtic Rangers, they're selling 48 matches. So per match, we're getting almost triple the amount of money is what teams in Holland are getting. But because they're selling the full rights to every match, they're getting more per season.
The headline looks more
but what you
dramatic,
realise is, Stephen, TV deals are structured, Bhoycie. Not only does the TV deals buy in the games that they show, they also buy in so that they can refuse clubs the chance to show those matches as well. Whereas this new deal has got the scope to us do the pay-per-view, which is something that we've been crying out for.
Yes.
I still think financially it's a bad deal on paper, but commercially, I think I see the bigger picture. I think some people need to look at kick the tires a wee bit, and you see it's not as bad as what you think.
I agree massively with that, Mark, and it took me all day to kind of come round, because when I was planning the show today, I was thinking, I was like, I always like the debate to be more sort of rounded and it not just be jumping on the bandwagon and saying this is shite. And the more I was reading about it, the more I was like, well, wait the fucking now. And when I look at then what Celtic's revenue streams are now, they've just released accounts last week. Where's the TV revenue really on that list, Mark?
It's very bottom.
You know, it's right down the bottom. Celtic are just going 7 years security with the UK's biggest sports subscribe to platform. We'll just go with that. What is it, an extra 500 grand? Then we also need to be very conscious as well of the waters that we swim in, right? Now, this is why, again, we could go back to this argument that I always like to make. Celtic's finance balance sheet and turnover topping 100 million again will be defined by Champions League access, not by what their broadcast rights deal is with Sky Sports, and when it's the Scottish League that's being covered. And remember as well, with these other clubs, right, you need them to be, you know, not at war with each other. You're wanting your league to be getting these deals done. At the end of the day, if you're the chairman of Livingston, for example, right, now we only see the spaghetti had when Celtic are playing there, right? And it looks full, that looks great. That's not the reality though, right, guys, right? The reality is, if you're the Livingston chairman, he's sitting there for his box looking at just yellow empty seats, okay? That's what he's doing, week in, week out. He gets the phone passed to him over his shoulder. Sky want to give you an extra 20% on your TV deal and extend it. Why these guys they've got a duty of care to their shareholders and just as being a responsible businessman to go, done, because we don't bring all that much to that party anyway, you know? And I just think when you're looking at that going, well, my gate revenue isn't actually going to be, remotely affected by this. We're getting more money for nothing, technically, just by Sky bringing their cameras down. And 20% a season extra of TV revenue to the vast majority of these SPFL clubs is like winning a fucking watch today. Let's be completely honest. Now, we had our hands bitten, Jonathan. Not so long ago, the SPFL TV deal was about 20 odd years ago, to be fair. But then Setanta, about 15 years ago. And you need to remember, you pissed off Sky at that point. Celtic didn't want to leave Sky at that point either. Celtic wanted to stay with the Sky deal, which I think was working out only 5 million less, I think, overall than Setanta's. It was buttons, but everyone went for that extra couple of quid from a company that had no proven record in broadcasting UK sport. Yes, in Ireland they were, but not in the UK. Obviously, that went Pete Tong, and Sky kind of just turned their back on Scott. Went, well, you can just fucking deal with it yourselves, guys. We ended up, I don't know if you remember this, Jonathan, on the BBC for 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The BB fucking, I mean, let's be honest, BBC Scotland do not have a budget to remotely satisfy, the Scottish football needs. So Sky knew when, even then, they could have won the bids back. They kind of showed a ruthless streak to them at that point. And do you know what? Their nose was out of joint because they probably felt, well, we've invested plenty in your product before, and the first chance is someone batting their eyelids at you with no proven track record over here, you's fucked off. So you can deal with the BBC for a couple of years. And then when we come back and get you, it's going to be at a lesser amount than what you probably thought you'd be on by this point in your evolution because you've cheesed us off. None of these clubs want to go down that road again. This is a guaranteed pathway of cash, Jonathan, for the next 7 years. Right? A guaranteed revenue stream. And it's for the other clubs, 20% more each year than what they were getting before from their TV revenue deals on the biggest platform, as Mark says, in the UK for sports. It makes you more attractive to an Adidas, Dafabet. Where are our band going to be getting seen? On Sky. Excellent. And then you get the best for both worlds because you're on the BT Sport for Champions League and things like that. But I think from a Celtic point of view, I just think this is a deal that let's just keep that going. Sign with the big boys on this one, guys. Let's not try and kid ourselves on that you guys are all progressive enough for us to come up with some PPV exclusive SPFL TV thing. It ain't going to happen, right? And while Celtic are more than capable and got the capabilities to do all this sort of thing, where's their actual competition going to be left from then if they were all to go down individual paths and things? I think it makes more sense just to keep it all on the same structure it is. It's an extra 20%. We know Sky have called this deal, Jonathan, early because they're seeing the profile rise again and they're nipping in there early. And they know that people have a long memories when they've fucked up in business before. So they know the clubs will be quite itchy, get itchy feet to, we'll sign that. But I also think we need to just be a wee bit realistic here, and nothing would stop Sky if the profile, the Scottish appearances in Europe continues to improve, Jonathan, and we get 2 teams in the top tier. There's nothing to suggest Sky wouldn't then come back midway through this new contract and go, holy fuck, your coefficient's in the top 8, 9. Here, let's extend this deal again and let's give you another 20%. If that's the way it's going to be, then surely just keeping this as a long-term partnership might not actually be the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, no, I would completely agree with that. When it comes to the broadcasting sort of arrangements, the Sky really is the limit. I would probably say, no pun intended. But it's terrible, isn't it? That was terrible. but when it comes to the broadcasting arrangements with Sky, it makes absolute sense to keep your broadcast partner on side, particularly when they are, the ones with all the cash. Let's be honest, they can throw it about willy-nilly and they make so much of the English Premiership alone that there's every chance that if Scottish football was to continue to improve over the next few years, then Sky can afford to throw more money at it because what they're paying in terms of how much money they have is buttons to them, really, when you consider.
Jonathan, it shows good form as well. It shows good form that if we're mid-contracts and Sky are going to be giving it all the power, we're just that excited by your growth. We want to do fresh terms. And if we're open and not going, we're going to keep hedging our bets, Sky might come back in at the end of our deal with a lesser offer. But if everyone just keeps on this wee happy train, I think you might see this happen continually. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's something that'll definitely get looked at. I would imagine, as I say, because Sky will have the scope to put more money into the product if it continues to improve. They've got a wealth of money there. You know what I mean? It's not difficult for Sky to turn around and chuck more money at it further down the line. They're by far the leading broadcaster when it comes to sports in the UK. So it's something that they'll be quite happy, I think, to do, provided the product continues to go in the right direction, which, I think we're all fairly optimistic that, certainly from a Celtic standpoint anyway, that we will continue to move further forward over the next couple of years and continue to hopefully progress in Europe and get further exposure there, which will help the league in turn get better broadcasting deals when indeed the terms get looked at next. So I think that is something that is certainly going to have been an interest to the clubs. I think from their point of view, they're probably seen the increase, and I would agree with you. The clubs that are not, contributing as much to the party, if you like, and are at the lower end of the league table and are really only there for the games between Celtic and Rangers when they come to town. I can kind of see why they would be thinking this makes absolute sense for us to be snatching their hand and taking that money, because you've got to remember, for a lot of other Scottish clubs, this is huge money for them. They absolutely need this money. They need this money. Whereas for Celtic, it's just a small extra bit of revenue, really, the TV deal. The big bucks are always going to be trying to get into the Champions League, is where Celtic will make the most of their income, as well as on top of that, the ticket sales that come with that. So from that point of view, I think it probably makes sense from a lot of ways for this to have been agreed and done. And even if, when you're just looking at the headlines, it does come across a bit underwhelming. When you dig a little bit deeper into it, it could have been a lot worse, I would have said.
We've discussed this before, different ways that we could be promoting Celtic as a brand. And we had a great chat about the Celtic app. I love that in the close season, and we were saying, this could be really edgy and something that separates Celtic from the rest. And how have they not thought of this? Getting all the DVDs that have came out over the years, all the end of season videos, and collate them on one simple app. All exclusive managers that they put on YouTube now, all on this app, and you pay $5 a month. But just at the tap, you could go into any league campaign and watch Hearts away for 2016 Scott Sinclair's goal. Tap into the 16-17 season, first game, boom, and you can go for full highlights or the full match itself. Things like that would be really clever, and I've got no doubt Celtic obviously have the rights to these games now. But in terms of actual live content, Mark, I don't think Celtic would have much of an appetite for giving out in Scotland and obviously the UK as a whole 19 out of 19 of their league home games, do you?
No, mate, I don't think. There's already, when we played matches on a Wednesday or a Sunday, knew that's even our luck. The year we qualify for the Champions League just happened to be the fucking same year that Hearts are playing in the UEFA Cup, and we're having to play Sundays needlessly. But when we play on a Sunday, a large section of our fan base that are travelling for England and Ireland only make it to the matches, you know what I mean? And same on a Wednesday night. So I must admit, I've looked at the window a few times between pissing the rain on a Wednesday night and it's Hamilton Accies, and I've went, fuck, I've phoned my brother, see if he wants to go.
Totally,
I think we've all been there, you know what I mean? So if that game's on telly, you might just leave. And I'm of the opinion that I don't think Celtic care whether I go. My seat's paid for. They probably don't even bother if fucking you buy a pie or no. I think it's fucking beyond that stage for them now, mate. You know, I think they're just happy to get the bums on the seats and see who's buying pies and who's buying juices. I mean, my experience in Celtic Park is every cunt scared with the match programmes. They don't buy them much. Nobody really seems to be buying pies or juices down where I sit anyway. I think the TV deal itself, just quickly before I go on, I think the TV deal itself is a bad deal for a TV deal, but the commercial part I think is good. That's the point I was trying to make. I think the deal itself is a shit deal. I can't lie there, but the commercial aspect, I can see why the Celtic board just says, I give a pen and signed it, you know. But Bhoycie, I mean, for Celtic to sign 19 home matches over, I think it'd be a bad idea. I think that would only work for me is that if you offer a season package to people that just can't afford a season ticket. Folk that are maybe not even can't afford, maybe they'll get work commitments, but they could put a laptop on, charging £20 a month. If there's one game on a month, if there's 8 games on a month, and folk would happily pay that. I mean, I would dare say if Celtic offered a service like that, I think you might see a percentage of folk that have got IPTV that maybe just say, do you know what? I'm going to pay Celtic at £20. That's my contribution. I'm going to get good content, good cameras. I'm going to get Chris Sutton talking. It's not going to be. I'm not going to get a text message on my phone saying Celtic have scored and then see the goal 3 minutes later.
Yeah.
You know, a proper service. I think there'll be a large section of the people. Also, open up to pubs. We all know, Bhoycie, you owned a pub. We all know Sky Sports costs like $3,000 a month for a pub to, you know, it's mega money.
Crazy.
Open it up to pubs, because see, like say, you go to a supporters bus or support, they're not going to grass anybody, but they've all got IPTV on their pubs. Give them a decent price. Let the supporters pubs, the guys who are just, as I say, not got the money or not got the opportunity. See, rather than them having it for nothing, which are going to charge them a small fee, take that revenue. You know what I mean? So I totally agree with you. I don't think that 19 game would work for Sky for Celtic. I think eventually that will come into football, where Sky Sports, for talking sake, there'll be a Scottish app on your Sky Sports, and you'll have every game. Every game will be there. Every top flight game, you just click on the game you got to watch. And I think eventually that'll come. I think their commercial greed will get too much for Sky, where they'll just need to have cameras all over the place, and they'd rather have 4,000 watch the St Johnstone game than none. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know, I think eventually it's going to go down that road, because I think like the NFL, I think there's Monday night football, but seeing a Sunday when you could watch any game, boys saying that, I mean, any game you want.
Take your pick.
I think when you're talking about commercial, when you look at the hockey's really good at selling itself. You know, we'll put it this way: see, hockey is a bit like darts. The people that are at the matches can't even see what's happening, and they're still paying to watch it. You know what I mean? Folks sitting in the back row of the SECC, they can't even read the guy in front of them, the back of their jacket. You know what I mean? See a dart hit the board, but folks still sell this product on telly. You know what I mean? Folks still pay to watch it. So I think eventually it's going to go down that road. And but just now, I totally agree with you. I mean, there's no appetite, I don't think, for Celtic to do that. I think, as you said, the app for previous matches, great idea. I don't think anybody would be against that. It's a brilliant idea, but it's going to take something like that to happen, where the clubs need to force that hand before your Skies just take over that, you know, and they will just create an app within your Sky Sports, a £10 upgrade if you want to watch the Championship, or a £5 upgrade for the Scottish Premier League. That's going to happen, because, as I say, the greed will take over at one point. You know what I mean? I'm sure it's probably just no viable just now to have 2,000 cameras over Britain. I just don't think it's viable for them in the climate, but it will happen eventually. And I think Celtic and Rangers and the rest of the big clubs will just need to bide their time. But I totally agree. See, you go down that Holland route where you're selling 300 matches. I think Ajax, finally, they still get big crowds. But I think your other teams will suffer through that. Your Utrechts and the rest of it, they'll suffer. They'll probably see maybe a 10, 15, 20% decrease in their stadium gates, you know what I mean? And I know in Spain, when they sell tickets, they sell them. It's in the contract. They've got to sell them on the opposite end for the main camera's view first. So that, for instance, these tickets will be sold first before they get to like the main stand tickets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's to make the crowd look bigger. You know what I mean? And they amplify the music pre-match. They amplify the crowd noise to sell the product. You know what I mean? That's something that Sky should be doing a bit more, to be quite honest with you. I think I spoke about this. I'll speak about it quickly again. I don't think simply played football gives you the automatic qualifications to go into Sky and talk about football. I don't think Chris Boyd or John Hartson or James McFadden are qualified enough, in my mind, to speak about football. I think you look at what the English TV offer you. I don't think, boys, I'm an idiot, and when I see a goal being scored, I can normally tell whose fault it is, right? I'd leave Chris Boyd to say, well, that was the centre back's fault. I mean, if that's the peak of their knowledge about football, then I think we're shooting pretty low. You know what I mean? I think the time they start taking it seriously, I don't care if it's English based. I don't care if it's a Graham Souness up for a Celtic Rangers game, or years ago we used to get Martin Tyler, and it just felt more proper. It did, you know. When Andy Walker spitting piss and that other guy who says the same Derby Day part every game. That's the sort of things that annoys me about
No, I'm
the
not
product
having
we
a
get.
bad word about Crocker, mate. No, I like
Oh,
him.
Crocker,
no,
that's
I
controversial.
like him. I like him. I think he's good.
Bhoycie,
I
do you know
think
that? See, the best thing about I've always said this. The best thing about me having my season ticket is 9 times out of 10 I don't need to listen to that guy
really,
because he's
well, that's true.
that's a bit. I just listen to that fucking patter. It just
No,
does
I like
nothing.
him. I think he's good.
Some
I
folk
think
like
he's
him.
been good.
I don't.
He sells
I
it
think
quite
he's
well as well. I think he
sorry.
sells the game. I think he's got a positive attitude towards Scottish football. I
Aye.
think for an English person, he's been investing in it, and I always think he's trying to like glam it up a wee bit, Jonathan. I think with all his alliteration and his nicknames or his wee sayings, I think that's all meant to be for the product. The other ones, I grant you. I mean, I can't deny. I think when you're still
I
relying
think
on Andy
Crocker brings
Walker,
enthusiasm to it, doesn't he? It's just there's a few of them I
aye.
think around it that just seem just dull. Like Andy Walker used to play in Scotland, and then it just you wouldn't even know it because he just sounds so fucking bored the whole time he's watching a
But
game.
he
It's the
does.
same with guys like Chris Boyd, who's just wanting to be Chris Sutton, and he's just embarrassing himself at every turn. So yeah, I mean, I'd definitely take the point. I mean, the pundits on Sky generally they're all terrible. Really, they're not good, and I don't think many Scottish football fans can enjoy tuning into them at all. I
No.
certainly don't.
I think they could reinvent. I think what they're doing right now in terms of how they produce the show that Mark's talking about is the problem with it is it's the exact same as what they were doing 20 years ago. Standing in the gantry, and it's still all quite formal, I think. You know, and Chris Boy's okay, he's trying to act the class clown, but because his actual input's so shite, when he's then acting like a clown, it's not having that sort of a desired effect. It's all right being sharp and witty if when you're actually talking about the football, you're bringing something to the table. And then it kind of washes a wee bit easier. But he's just an idiot. He's just a buffoon. And it's unfortunate. He actually puts folk off watching it. And that's not just people from
Bhoycie, see if you watch Spanish football, mate, right, for talking's sake, just say you watch Spanish football and there was an ex-Barcelona player in the studio and he got asked a serious question about a foul a Barcelona player made and he giggled and just kind of sideswept it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, I think he just dived there or whatever. The way Chris Boyd does, he's not got a unbalanced opinion. He talks like the guy inside the Rangers supporters bus. He's not got any, he's just got blinkers. And if you were watching that as an observer, neutral observer, you would think, how can I take this seriously when you get guys like that who it's a stonewall penalty that team should have got, and he's kind of laughing and giggling about it. And when you wouldn't see a Graham Souness or even that Jamie Carragher speak like that, and you wouldn't see him laughing off. You think you see the odd quip, but it's just no professional, mate. It's just no. How can you take that seriously when you get guys like that? You know what I'm talking about?
I think as well. I think sometimes as well it'd be quite good if there was more like sort of spin-off shows for it. Like, you know, I think BT worked out, you know, the combination they had between McCoist and Sutton with Darryl Curry was such a good combo that even though they don't cover the Scottish Premier League, they still do a half hour or an hour show on a Friday talking Scottish football because the combinations, the debate's really good, and then there is that level of banter, which, as I say, is far easier to palate when there's been a wee bit of insight during the show as well. You go, oh, that's all right if they're having a wee nibble at each other and they're having a wee bit of fun. I don't mind that. But it's when you're bringing nothing to the table in terms of your input. So, yeah, I think for the next 7 years, it'd be brilliant if not only whilst we're talking about, you know, the commercial value of it and all that, I also think if we want Scottish football to be in this position where, by the way, there's no one else interested in buying Scottish football than Sky Sports. Let's get that abundantly clear. There's absolutely no one coming in, you know, that are going to rival Sky Sports bid because nobody else wants it, BT included. And for all the praise BT will get, I can always go back to it. They bid less than what they were for half the rights, for the full rights. And that's how Sky got the exclusive rights. Okay, that is a fact. That's how little they valued it. So whilst, yes, I actually agree, I think the production and I've thought their input and I thought their engagement with Scottish football fans as well as the product was really, really impressive. I think over the next 7 years, whilst we're going to be with Sky Sports, we have to be looking at this and going, well, how could they improve their output for Scottish football? And, you know, that's when that marriage starts becoming more, I don't know, well-rounded. That's how viewing numbers, for example, could go up for them, for their point of view as well, if the actual product that they put out. How they do that is up to them. But I do think definitely, I think we would all be a wee bit more warm to this deal as well. If we were, say, from next season to see a wee bit of a shake-up, Jonathan, and how they're actually providing us with Scottish football content right now. Do you know what I mean? Because
they're savvy with a lot of it, Russell, though, because they do bring out Ali McCoy's for the Derby games, guys. They're not completely silly. They're not completely silly. They know Ali McCoy's is quite well respected as a pundit across the whole of Scotland. I would say he comes across pretty well. I think he's quite funny as well at times. So I think he has that ability to kind of not only just be able to seriously talk about a game, you can tell he's so enthusiastic about it, but he's also able to have those sort of funnier clips that makes them quite well liked across the UK. But they don't use McCoy or anybody similar for any of the other games. It's only for the Rangers game they tend to bring out somebody like that. So they are capable of doing it. It just seems to be a case that they only half-arse it to me, when they could, really make even more of a statement with that and, bring in a few more of them. I always thought when they got the rights from BT, it was staring them in the face to do all they could to try and bring as many of that production team over as they possibly could. And I think a few of them would have went if the offers had been made, but it doesn't seem like they were overly interested. And then it is just a case that you can see from the way that they've ended up buying this that the main reason for them to have it is, of course, the Derby games, and they're not really that interested, to me, as how it comes across in the other fixtures that are played in the league, and that's why they don't bother bringing in the bigger names for those games, and they only bring in the likes of Ali McCoy's for a game against Rangers. And I think that's something they should look to address, because I think if you get guys of that ilk on more regularly, you'll actually find there'll be more casual fans in England that might be more interested in watching it. And it goes back to Mark's point, because guys like Ali McCoy are actually, able to kind of relate a lot more to the English football fan, because they do a lot of coverage down south, similar to Sutton,
as well. He's got a profile.
Yeah, he's got that profile and that reputation there, so people are going to take it a bit more seriously. Whereas, if you're looking at the pundits on Sky at the moment, guys like Chris Boyd never had a career in England. I mean, he was at Middlesbrough and he was hopeless for a little while. And it just seems like, if you're wanting to try and really promote the platform, then you need to try and give yourself the best possible tools to do that. And that starts with the punditry for me. And it's clear Sky know this, because they do it for the Rangers games, but nothing else.
Okay, we will move on from the TV stuff. It does look like that is going to be our partner. So, yeah, we can hope that the product maybe gets a wee bit better. But we think maybe commercially it did make sense for Celtic after all. And it certainly, we know it did for the rest of the clubs. But we will move on. Enjoyed that debate, guys. But obviously on a more pressing matter right now, international football is ongoing as we speak. I've seen quite a few updates about the England-Germany game. I'm trying to decipher what the score is from the comments. I think
2 each last I've seen, I think, maybe 3-2.
I'm guessing 2 each. That's what I was going to say. I think they were 2-0 down, and then it looks, from what I've been reading, no one's actually put the score in the comments, so I'm just going by the reactions of, I'm turning this off, and then it was gloating at the beginning, so 2-2 sounds a bit right. But there's been other games obviously involving Celtic players, which is a far more pressing concern, Mark. Hacksaw apparently picked up a knock. He was off after 32 minutes tonight. We've seen Abada and Maeda, you were saying in the group chat, they've picked up knocks. We know Giakoumakis apparently did as well, although we expect him to be okay. He'll need to be. International games, 3 of them for most of these players, during this time. Hopefully we won't have any more injuries. And how concerning is it, though? Even if it was to be those 3 players, for example, we're talking about having too many combinations for the front 3. That would be 3 out of our 7 front 3 players missing. That's nearly 50% wiped out in just one international break.
Kind of backs up what me and you were saying pre-season, when Eddie was saying the squad was absolutely fine. We were saying, what happens if you do get an injury? I mean, look at our centre-back pairing just now. We've actually, our centre-back pairing is Carter Vickers and the other. Now, we're in a situation where Carter Vickers is injured, Starfelt is injured. We've got a brand new centre-back, and he's up with Welsh. That's it. That's all we've got until these players come back. Add Turnbull to that list as well. Turnbull gets sent home for Scotland.
So he did.
It's not a big miss, I'm going to be totally honest with you, but it's still a body. Same as Maeda. Maeda is still a body. I know somebody who can come in and make a level of impact, and I look at Kyogo and I don't think it was really bad luck last season, but we had a spell with Giakoumakis and Kyogo. Giakoumakis came unfit. Kyogo seems to have, I think he's had 5 long-term injuries at Celtic in 12 months.
Right, Kyogo. Okay.
4 term injuries in his shoulder. He missed the Derby match and the following match, so I'm not counting that. So we'll call it 4. In fact, there was 3 of them were hamstrings. I think he missed something like 7 months of last season nearly with injuries, you know. So him being injured again this season would not surprise me, let's be honest. So we need a fully fit strike force and backup, and we were talking about it pre-season. We got a lot of stick for it, but that's why we needed another striker, because Ayeti's away. We've got 2 strikers. Now, if our 2 strikers is Giakoumakis and Kyogo, I don't think we'll go through that season without they 2 being injured at the same time. I think it's almost a certainty that we will go through a spell where they 2 will be injured at the same time.
I agree.
I also think it's probable. That's probably probable. I think it's more than probable, that you're going to have spells where our midfield is going to be dictated by who's available. And unfortunately, we've found out that in paper, our second string seemed all right. This is something I warned about a few times on the podcast. Our second string seemed all right, but see, in practice is not very good. You look at every position in our part. I'm going to say, I know I'm biased right before he starts laughing, but I'm going to say that only for me, the goalkeeper and right back position, maybe centre back, but only right back and centre back position is areas where I'm comfortable that the second choice coming in doesn't leave a major drop off in quality. Because I'm not classing Giakoumakis as the second choice striker. I'm classing Giakoumakis as the option striker, right? I think if you're looking at Abada, falling down to Forest, that's a drop off. I'm sorry. If you're looking at Jota to Maeda, that's a fucking drop off. That's like a cliff. If you're looking at McGregor to Moy, that's a drop off. O'Reilly to Tumble, that's a drop off. Hatate to, I don't know who's going to play there. Will we push McGregor there and bring in Moy on that in the middle again? You're talking drop offs all over the park, Bhoycie, and the second string seems all right and it looks good in paper, but that's the same second string players that you'd be really worried or concerned about if they had to play a big important match for you. If you went to Tynecastle tomorrow and you had to play a Moy, you had to play a Maeda through the middle, and you had to play a Welsh at the back, that's going to give concerns. Now, somebody said last week that some of the fan base hadn't got a stomach for a title campaign, which is ironic because I think they were half my age, if I'm quite honest with you. So I think I've been watching Celtic go through a lot of title campaigns where they lost it with 1 goal and won it at 1 point. So I've seen it all. But see, if that is the case, that this is a title campaign, as people want to keep reminding me, that's why I think you take every game like it's Real Madrid. You take, if it's Ross County at Celtic Park, number 1 priority is win that match. No, to keep Moy focused for Australia. No, to keep Juranovic fresh. Now, I've heard the excuses as where you could say, well, there's only one thing Ange can control there, and that's their Celtic game time. They can't control their international game time. I understand that. But if we're sitting in September and we're starting to rest players after 7 matches and 2 European matches, 9 matches since May.
Yep.
I think the season finished at the end of May. And players need a rest, then there's something seriously wrong with your conditioning work at Celtic Park. I don't think that is the case. I think that our team's really fit. I just think it goes back to complacency. But this is the thing. See that 5-point gap? It looked a lot better for situations like this. Now, I know it's Motherwell will go to Celtic Park, but see if our next match was Pittodrie or, heaven forbid, an Ibrox, and you're missing all the key players, that's when I start to worry, mate. And it's the reason. It's because I'm a seasoned person at watching the football, and that I'm worried about these things, mate. Yep. I've seen it all before. I've seen us lose fucking Stubbs and play Tebble at the back.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I get you, mate.
And it worries me, mate, that was a missed opportunity. That's the cushion we had by beating Rangers. That's gone. Celtics one slip up. I think it's 2 points. 2 points to me is still the same points as far as I'm concerned. Because it only takes one mistake for one team, and it's a gap opened or it's they're above you again. You know what I mean? But
I think though, we're good, like I was saying at the top of the show, Matt, right? We look at the season in these sort of wee chunks, chapters, whatever you want to call it. And I think before a ball was kicked this season, if you says, we'll get in to the first international break, and we're going to have 2 point gap, and it'll include a hump in the Rangers. I think we all sit, we go, done. I take that. I would take
Without a doubt, mate, I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. I'm not trying to diss that.
No, not at all. But you know what's happened with the second string was there was too many changes made, and there was a completely different approach taken by the players for whatever reason. That's up to them to fucking pinpoint, by the way, because that was like a different Celtic that we've seen randomly in that last game of that wee section of fixtures, Jonathan, and it was really just really odd. Now, does it then cast a doubt over all of the players that you wouldn't class maybe as first 11? That could maybe be a wee bit unfair as well, because when they went to Ross County, like it was Rooster, I think, saying in the comments, there didn't seem to be much of a drop-off at that point in time. You know what I would pinpoint it down to? But again, it's not an agenda, it's just a fact. The team played at a million miles slower because of the midfield, and it's just a fact. I mean, I think it's staring you in the fucking face that we made the other changes last time, and yeah, I agree. I mean, I think we say things like fall off a cliff from Jota to Maeda. Yes, I think Jota can do with a fucking orange. You know what I mean? What Maeda can do with a football, Jonathan. But at the same time, I think Maeda was a huge part of us winning the league last year. I think his arrival gave the team a real impetus, and I think he is more than capable, still domestically for sure, of causing teams problems. For whatever reason, everyone that came into the team underperformed. And then the strangest thing was, when we then brought in the first team regulars, they sort of dropped off. But one thing it definitely has done is made us very, very, very concerned when we're seeing players potentially getting knocks, injuries, Jonathan, on this international break. Because obviously, when you go into an international break on the back of a defeat, you've got longer for that defeat to linger. When it was in the back of making not wholesale changes, but 6 changes to a first team, you start now thinking, when you're seeing first team players maybe picking up knocks, it's gonna make a reaction to that, I think, even more emphasised. We don't want to see any more players, Jonathan, picking up knocks or anything like that. Not because we've lost faith in other members of the squad altogether, Jonathan, and maybe some people have, that's fair enough as well. But what I would say is, I definitely think there was some sort of reality check as well on the Sunday. Your preparation, your attitude to the game has to be spot on. And yeah, maybe making 6 changes. Maybe all those changes were a wee bit more than necessary.
Yeah, I mean, I think, when you're looking at the international games and you've had so many potential little knocks coming in there is always going to be that area of concern there, particularly when, you did just suffer a defeat right before it after making so many changes to the team. But I think before that game against St Mirren, even though there'd been that many changes, I think the majority of the fan base probably still expected who came in to have had enough to have got the job done. And even when I seen the team, even though I wasn't overly convinced by it, I thought against St Mirren we'd be able to get 3 points there anyway. Obviously that was proven not to be the case, so there does have to be questions there about some of the selection choices that did end up materialising. I would expect he would go back more towards as full of strength as he possibly can at the weekend. I think he's found out a lot about his players after that game against St Mirren. Yeah. I don't anticipate he will look to make those number of changes again unless he is forced to by something like a backlog of injuries following the international games. So I think, it was one of those ones that was a tough learning curve against St Mirren, but I would expect that Celtic will go back to their strongest team, or the strongest team they can possibly put out against Motherwell. And I wouldn't really be too concerned about a couple of them coming in there, because I think it was an off day all round against St Mirren in any event. I wouldn't be keen on the same number of changes being made, but if you only took 1 or 2 of them out and brought 1 or 2 in, I think it would have probably been okay. I think it was more the fact he went and made so many changes and it just completely disrupted the rhythm. And then when the players that had been playing well came on at half time, it was they just couldn't get up to the speed of the game quickly enough at that point, which can happen because the team had just been so shit in that first 45 minutes. We'll get a better insight because it's going to be the first time Celtic have faced a wee bit of adversity this season. So I'm quite looking forward to seeing how they handle that, and particularly given the fact, as you rightly say, they've had a lot longer to stew on this defeat than we would have liked, and it'll be interesting to see if we get the same Celtic we've been used to this season that come flying out the traps on Saturday against Motherwell.
Oh, I think
or
so.
if there is, I think it will be. I think it could end up being another one of these big scoring games if Celtic are on it from the start, because I suspect the players that want to correct are wrong from what happened against St Mirren. So I think from all those points of view, it's one of those ones. The last international games coming in obviously will take a few players off us. We know that's going to happen anytime there's internationals. Let's not forget it's a World Cup season as well, and some of our players will be going to the World Cup.
Let's talk about the World Cup, because that takes us up nicely to our final talking point before we do this wee quiz that Phil McGinley's got lined up. I can see him lurking in the lobby, guys. He is going to be sitting there going, "Oh, I'm ready." You know what he's like? He likes a curveball or two, so I have no idea what even the format is for this, so we'll find out. What's your sort of hopes and expectations then, Mark, for the next 13 fixtures we've got, right, up to the World Cup break? Now, we'll play Motherwell away in the League Cup. We will complete our group stage of the Champions League, first time we've been in it in 5 years, and we'll be at nearly, after 16 games, nearly the halfway point of the league campaign as well. Hopes, expectations, and aspirations for these tournaments. And there's a lot of people in the comments saying, we need to move on from that game and stuff. It's just a Celtic podcast. We just kind of talk about Celtic's last game on it quite a lot, and we got beat. So I don't think anyone's like not over it or anything. It's just a wee bit of debate about it because it's relative right now, and we do like to come on and talk about the club we love. So sadly, that was the last result. I think sometimes people just want to put their fingers in their ears and cover their eyes and go, no, it never happened. It did happen. We were shit and we got some things wrong, and we're talking about it because players are dropping out on international break. Anyway, that was the last time I justified talking about Celtic's most recent game on a Celtic pod, FYI. But Mark, the next 13 games, I mean, we're looking at 3 different competitions. What's your hopes, expectations, and aspirations for these fixtures? And go through it tournament by tournament. We'll start with the League Cup, the sort of lowest one in the radar. Then we can look at Champions League, then the league.
Well, I don't know if it's a later start for the League Cup. I need to get that.
Got past 6.
Aye, I think for me the hopes of the League Cup is we play a strongest 11 as much as possible, regardless of the opposition. We've lost too many trophies through our history by downplaying the competition and the opponents. So I'm hoping that we go in there with the confidence that we're going to win the tournament and go in there with a team that will win the tournament for us. And that's, for me, that's the strongest 11. And it's a lesson we've learned over the years with Rodgers. He took every tournament and every game seriously, and that's why we won so many trophies under him. If it was Raith Rovers on a Saturday or a Thursday in the Scottish Cup, it would be 9, 10, 11 starters. It'd be the first 11, maybe 9 or 10 of them.
Yeah.
And that's my hope, mate, is we treat it like that. And see if we do that, that gives me the expectation we're going to win it. Yep. Because if Celtic's strongest 11's out there in league or cup format, I think we're a hard team to beat. And I'm kind of hoping that the lesson was learned there. And I think we've got a manager who won't make the same mistakes. I don't think out of arrogance. I'm hoping that he's learned his lesson for there, mate.
Would you have any concerns there, Mark? If they were to play the strongest team in the League Cup and then, one of the players was to pick up an injury and you talk about...
Does it bother me, Jono, mate?
Cliff drop wouldn't bother you if that would mean
I would rather...
league games.
Tynecastle away 3 days' time after it, mate.
I would rather... I'm going to be honest with you. My priority is the league, right? Mm-hmm. But I would rather lose, and I know you're going to shout at me, I would rather lose a player trying to win the League Cup than lose a player trying to get a draw against Shakhtar Donetsk at Celtic Park, or a win against Red Bull Salzburg, or a win against Copenhagen. For me, I'd rather us win tournaments. I know, Bhoycie, you said you've got to win another 50 League Cups in your lifetime. I hope you're right. But for me, I'd rather... Your bread and butter is domestic football, and you're absolutely right. Tynecastle on Saturday in the league is more important than Pittodrie on in a cup match. You're right. The league's the most important thing. But if I'm watching Scottish football and I see a full strength team out in a League Cup game, it doesn't cross my mind that we should be resting them for the league. If the next league game is a standout like Ibrox, my eyes do drift a wee bit. You know what I mean? But to be honest with you, no. I think to be honest with you, I'd rather if we go to rest players, I'd rather do it for the meaningless games. And you all know the meaningless games is the ones that in Europe for me doesn't mean anything to me.
I don't get it. Because see with this as well, this arguments doesn't make sense.
You're unpopular Celtic manager, Mark.
No, it's the thing is like it's pointless because the most you're going to get out of that is money, right? So we all know money doesn't matter, but the more money you get, the better squad you can get the following year, right? So that's that aspect I get, right? And I love watching us play Barcelona and beat them and the rest. Who doesn't, right? But see, ultimately, it's just a DVD game. But see, the end of the season, you don't get a trophy for. You don't get a trophy for playing two up front against Barcelona. You don't get a trophy for that.
The whole show talking about commercial value to Celtic and things like that, and now it's back to just 10 years of winning the league again. Well, we've just done that. And look how we didn't do.
I understand that. Listen, I'm with you. You're right. We need to build the club. We need to build the club, right? I understand that, right?
But meaningless, you just said that.
I'm just getting to Jono's point.
Meaningless.
Well, financially, it's no meaningless because it builds the club up. But what's the point? It's the same as Clayton and Cudden playing the Scottish Cup. They might beat Dunfermline, but they're not going to win it.
Oh, mate.
What's the point?
So we'll move on then to what our hopes and expectations are for the Champions League.
Expectations.
Boy plays and captains the team.
I think.
Yeah, go on. Third. Yeah, but do you know what? I think third at the very start.
That's expecting.
Third place was what I've said, Jonathan. We should be striving for is third place in that group because that means the European football after Christmas. And I think that was very, very, very doable when the group was drawn. I think what we've seen from Celtic so far has been a bit of the good, bad, the ugly so far as well because there's been really good moments and then there's been. You know, we looked at one point against Shakhtar. I felt in that first half that we were on the ropes a bit when we conceded the first one, and then there was that second goal we conceded, but luckily the ball went out of play. I think second place has to be the hope, but I would agree with Mark. I think third place as an expectation would be. I'd be pretty happy with third place, Jonathan. To be honest, I think remaining in Europe beyond Christmas would be a nice novelty for Celtic.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think if you finish third, I think that'd be quite a decent result. And then on top of that, you know, you could potentially go on a run in the Europa League. You know, obviously Mark would agree with this, is that, you know, if you do finish second in the Champions League, that's probably over at the round of 16 unless you do something very special because you're going to no doubt be finishing second in the group. So you're going to be playing one of the top seeds and it's probably going to be curtains in February at the last 16 stage, whereas in the Europa League, there's no telling where Celtic could potentially go in that competition. Celtic have a chance in something like that because it's all going to be similar levels of opposition that they're up against there. So I think that'd be a bit more of an exciting run after Christmas in Europe if you're in the Europa League as opposed to the Champions League, because really if you end up finishing second, plus there's obviously the financial benefits that are huge for getting out the Champions League group. You realistically know that Celtic are probably going to be going straight out in the first knockout game, whereas if you go into the Europa League, there'd be a real buy-in, I think, from the fans that they could do some damage in a competition like that.
Well, it is long overdue. Obviously, Mark, you know, the league is the priority, as you rightfully say. I'm just looking at fixtures that we've got coming up in the league. I'll just quickly sort of read them out to you, just to sort of refresh your memory as well. Motherwell at home, obviously, this week. Then we've got St Johnstone away, Hibs at home. Then we've got Tynecastle 4 days after that League Cup game where we'll be full strength, of course. We've then got Livingston away. Dundee United at home. Motherwell away again, but this time in the league. And then Ross County at home. Maximum points, I think we can target that. Obviously, the big stumbling blocks, Tynecastle, but I always fancy Celtic when we go there, and it's a fixture that I just love watching, John. So I think it's brilliant. I'll come to you, Matt. What's your expectations though for the league?
For the league, I expect us to win it. That's better to win the league.
Right, sorry for this section I meant. Sorry, Mark. That's my fault.
For the league. For
the section of fixtures.
For the games up to the World Cup.
Well, just that section of games. Sorry, that's better to state. We've not got. I think our next derby match is December the 31st. So does that include in that?
No, it'll be after the World Cup. I think that's one of the first games after it.
I expect us to win every single match, to be quite honest with you, mate. And I think we've got the best squad in the country.
Yep.
I know I had a wee go to backup players, but I still would rather their squad than Rangers' squad, to be quite honest with you. I think they've got a lot of internal issues that we've not got. I think we look at their squad, and I think Ryan Kent's not signed a contract. Morelos, he's got his head turned probably towards the kebab shop, to be quite honest with you. But there's more issues at Rangers than just players' contracts. And I think there's a wee bit of, I don't know, I think there's a wee bit of dressing room. I'm not buying into the manager. I think there's something, it's just iffy to know. So I think Celtic, my expectations is Celtic getting every match as a favourites. I think that's fair. I think we're the best team in the country. And so on that premise, I think we should get into every match and win it, to be quite honest with you. But it's might not be a reality. I mean, going to Tynecastle or Pittodrie, that's all coming up for Celtic, I think. And so is obviously Ibrox, you know what I mean? And
Pittodrie's the first game back. You're right, after the World Cup.
And you know something? We've actually got a good record there. I mean, I still think, granted any game, Ibrox is slightly different, you know, because sometimes you would just take a draw and just fucking go up the road. But I think every game you get into an expectation Celtic win that. And I think we've got the best manager in the country. We've got the best keeper. I think we've got the best defence, best strike force, best midfield. So I expect to get it, you know what I mean? And I expect us to win it. I managed to get the laptop once, so I see a couple of comments. I think people think I'm mad with it. I don't know. Scott Cameron says I think I've been negative. I'm not going to...
The judge has now got the sniper out on the comment.
I tell you something, mate. See, the day you apologise for having an opinion, it's the day that you shouldn't be allowed to have an opinion. So if any of you want to say, you say it. I seen Swux saying sub me off. I mean, I think there's anybody in the chat that could do a better job than me. So if they want to come on and sub me off, I mean, they couldn't see a fucking... I mean, what's this, Monty? I think you're talking piss, Monty. I watch your comments, mate, and it's the biggest heap of shit I've ever seen in my life, mate. Hence why you've not got a picture on your avatar and you're just a random colour. Come on the show one day live and we can discuss something. See what you've got.
I think you need to remember as well, these are people that watch the bus week in, week out, Mark, and if they didn't like that comment, then do you know what? It's their gift.
No, mate, to be quite honest with you, I'm just having a wee laugh at them, mate. I think some of them just talk shit and all. Boys, I think the reason why I'm on the show is because, you know, I don't lie, mate. You know, if you ask me a question, I'll just give you the straight answer, mate. To be quite honest with you, I'm not going to say that I like something, I don't like something just to appease you to. I'll say what I think. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, mate. No, we want an authentic opinion on the bus. I've never wanted anything other than that from anyone who's contributed on the Bhoycie bus. That's what it's all about. Anyway, we'll bring in Phil and we'll get on with doing this wee quiz at the end. Jonathan, now you were wanting lifelines for tonight. Mark was wanting to revise, going by the group chat that I was reading earlier. How you doing, Phil? What's happening?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I was enjoying Mark choosing violence there. That was class. That was awesome. That. But yeah, I'm doing not too bad. New FIFA's launched tonight. I can already feel my bank account hating me already. So yeah, my life's about to descend into madness now that a new year of Ultimate Team awaits me. So yeah, one of the nights.
Is it?
I hope it's not going to be questions on FIFA player ratings. Phil, I really hope it is.
No.
Or wrestling.
No. Funny enough, something you have mentioned tonight is the subject. The League Cup is actually the subject. It all revolves around the free-handled trophy. In terms of format, there isn't really any elaborate format to this one. It'll just be a case of we'll just go round the clock. That usually get 5 shots at it. It's usually like a penalty shootout, although there's 3 taking part in it, so it's a 3-way penalty shootout. And I'm looking for people who have scored for Celtic in League Cup finals this century, from 2000 onwards. There are 16 answers. Now think about it. There's 3 of yous. You've got 5 shots, so realistically, 15 answers are on the table here, and so after a few rounds of this, there's very little room for error, guys. So if a case of we'll go round, we'll do your 5, and whoever wins. If somebody's got 4 or 5 and wins it outright, they're the winners. But
I'm working them all. Oh,
if there's a tie, if there's a tie, we shall obviously. I've got a tiebreaker now. Whoever goes first is going to have a huge advantage because they have got the they have got the whole list of players essentially to go through. So we need to decide who goes first. So I guess we can do a wee I've got a wee question to decide who goes first. Then
Go for it.
You do.
Okay. So without going over, how many goals did Stilian Petrov score in all competitions for Celtic? So Russell, your answer first, please. Whoever gets closest without going over is going first, and then whoever is closest next is
59.
59. Okay, Doc. Jonathan, how many do you think Stilian Petrov scored in all competitions?
73.
3. Okay, Doc. And Mark.
2.
42.
42. Okay. Well, the person who was correct and closest without going over is Russell. The answer is 64. So therefore, Russell
that's
is
good. Yes.
Mark
That's
is
some
second
record, isn't it?
because he didn't go over, but Jonathan, you went over, so you're third. You'll be going third in this one.
Okay.
Okay,
It's
Doc.
all right.
So
I like
Russell-
being the underdog.
That's fine. That's fine. So yeah, Russell, you're up first. So if you
League
can
Cup.
name any League Cup final goal scorer for Celtic in this century from 2000 onwards.
He plays in his slippers. Tom Rogic.
Tom Rogic, of course, he scored against Aberdeen in 2016. Mark.
Kyogo.
Yeah, Kyogo, most recent one. Yeah, he did indeed.
I shall
Kyogo.
go James Forrest.
Of course, it was a wee period there where it was his final, wasn't it? Where he just kept scoring in the final. Okay. Oh, by the way, guys, it goes without saying, turn off your comments, please.
Oh, yeah.
I'll put it up.
Throwing names into the comments right now. Throwing names in. Right, Russell, back to you. Penalty number 2 for Mr. Boyce.
I'm already struggling, man. League Cup final.
League Cup finals.
Odson Edward.
Watson Edward has not scored in the League Cup. That's a miss. Oh, you're 1 down already here. Can Mark and John will go in the lead?
I cannot believe that.
My shot, mate.
Watson Edward scored in the Scottish Cup final, chipped it down the middle against Gordon, scored against Hearts in the treble. But
Right, I'll say Sean Maloney.
Sean Maloney is correct. Yeah, Sean Maloney did get one.
Jerry Johnson final. Did have him. I think I might know another one from there. I'm going to go with somebody else. I'm going to go for Magic Zarowski.
Oh yeah, Magic Zarowski is indeed correct, Jonathan. Right,
And is it this century, did you say?
This is from 2000 onwards. Yep.
And there's a really obvious one.
Henrik Larsson.
Yeah, man. Put yourself back into it there, Russell. But you need these two guys to miss their next
There you
one.
go. There's a nice hand me down that one.
Jackie McNamara, I think he might have scored against Aberdeen.
Jackie McNamara did not score in the Scottish Cup final this century.
Yes, you kept me in it.
John, although you can take the outright lead, though.
Oh, I do know one. It's a good one. I think.
I'd
like to have kept him in my back pocket, but I'm going to need to use them. Dion Dublin.
Dion Dublin is a correct
Yeah,
answer. He scored the third goal in the Jimmy Johnston final with Zarowski and Maloney. So Jonathan now leads 3-2. Russell, back to you, mate. You need to put this in the net, mate.
This is fucking hard. League Cup final. I really don't know. I can't even picture. I remember having a shite record under Lennon, and then you think of O'Neill's time, but I can't really remember the cup finals. I don't know, man. I don't know. Chris Sutton.
Chris Sutton did not score in a League Cup final. Russell, he did not.
I can't picture one. I cannot picture one.
Tommy Johnston.
Tommy Johnson, yes, 2000.
I think he'll score along with determine McNamara scored in the 2-0 game against Aberdeen.
No, McNamara scored in the League Cup, the Scottish Cup final in 2001.
Johnson
I think I know the other scorer. I know that.
Well, Jonathan?
I'm trying to think. 2003, we lost 2-1. Did John Hartson score for us in that one?
He scored a goal that got disallowed. It was a perfectly good goal, but he's the official scorer.
Oh,
You're
no.
thinking, Larson scored the other one in that game that did count, but the Hartson one should have counted. It should have. So currently we go into the last round, and Russell's missed 2. He needs to put this away, and the other guys need to miss theirs.
So we won 4 trebles in a row, and I can't think of another League Cup scorer for that. I mean, what is going on? Come on. Scott Sinclair?
That's what I was going to
Sinclair
guess.
Scott Sinclair did not score in a League Cup final. So Russell,
I
you're
am
out, mate.
absolutely bombed.
Out, mate.
A couple left. I think this one's pretty safe. Ryan Christie.
Ryan Christie did indeed, yes. So
Well
Mark,
done.
you've taken the lead. Jonathan, you need to convert.
Let me think. League Cup. Oh, I've got one. Aidan McGeady.
He did indeed. McGeady 2009 final.
Yeah.
Okay, Doc.
Now,
Damn.
Yep. Okay.
That's
Well,
so
then you
funny
said
'cause
death.
When
Yeah.
you said McGeady, I thought of Darnell Day straight away there. That's so funny that did the same with you, Mark. That's weird.
aye. I had the worst view ever. I was in the front row. A guy my height couldn't see it.
Mark leads 5. I will tell you right now, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 answers left. Jonathan, the pool is getting smaller.
About to be 4, because I know another one. Joe Ledley.
Yeah, Joe Ledley, 2011 final consolation
Oh,
goal in the end
he
for us.
said that confidently.
No, he did.
This one,
Header.
I'm not sure, but I think I got this one right. Maybe the second goal scorer in the Tommy Johnson game was Vidar Risef, one of the goal scorers that day.
It was indeed. Risef was indeed one of them. That takes us
Yeah,
down
it was.
to
It was
3
Johnson and Reset.
left. And yeah, this is tense. This is very tense.
I don't think I know any other ones. I have to guess somebody, I think. Moussa Dembele.
Yes, Moussa Dembele scored in the 2016 and the 2017 finals, 2 penalties
picture
against
either of
Aberdeen
those goals.
and
Oh,
against
with the penalties.
Motherwell. Now there are 2 answers left, and it's a sudden death shootout here. If you both get them, we'll have to go to a tiebreaker. But yeah, there's 2 left in the pool.
How many have I missed?
You've missed one, and Jono's missed one. So the score currently is 6 apiece.
Right. Oh, fuck me. I don't know, man. Did Marat? No.
Russell's just had an epiphany moment. He's kicking himself. I can see that look in his face.
I'm going to say, because did Moravcik score in one of them?
Moravcik did not. So, Jonathan, you can win it if you can give me a right answer, or we're going to have a tiebreaker question to decide it.
Oh my God, I can't even think of another one. I feel
You're
like there's a
going to kick
defender.
yourself.
I feel like there's another defender in there. Oh my God, who else could there be? I mean, I keep going back to Mr. Lustig, but I don't think he scored in a cup final. I think a semi-final he scored in Lustig. I'm going to have to just chuck a name in there, I think. I'm going to have to chuck a name in. Who else was decent under Rodgers? There must be another one under Brendan that's done it.
That's what my logic was going to.
Must be another one under Brendan that's done it.
There's one that's. Oh, I'm so annoyed at.
Lee Griffiths.
Lee Griffiths did not score in a League Cup final. Scottish Cup final, so we're going to have
Gary
a
Hooper, Anthony
tiebreaker.
Stokes, or somebody like that.
The 2
I went Chris Julian. I've got in that 1-0.
Yes, Christopher
Oh,
Julian.
Oh my God.
That's the one that I was like sitting there and I just went, just trying to think if Lennon won one. And then I went, Lennon won the one we got humped in.
Aye.
And
And the other one, the final one that got missed,
don't know
is
that.
Chris Commons in the Dundee United 2015 final.
Oh, aye.
Chris Commons and James Forrest scored. So we're going to have another tiebreaker. Luckily, I've got one lined up. So again, we're going to just go down the how many goals route. And here's a player who played many, many years for us, wasn't famous for scoring many goals. So this time I'm looking for, without going over, how many goals Scott Brown scored for Celtic in his all competitions in his Celtic career. So, Mark, you were first in the shootout in the order. So, Scott Brown, how many goals without going over do you reckon?
Oh, fuck. Was it 43?
I've got a guess as well. Even if I'm not part of this, I'm still guessing.
We'll throw Russell's in there at the end. So, Jonathan, Mark has gone 43. What are you saying?
I don't think it'll be as many as 43. I think it'll be less. I'm going to say 25.
25. What's your guess for the
18?
18. I can tell you, one of yous is only 3 out. That's how close you were. Russell, you're miles off. 18 is nowhere near.
Oh, wow. That must be miles off as well.
Scott Brown, in all competitions, scored 46 goals. Mark is the winner tonight in the quiz. There you go.
I think he'd scored anything like that.
Well, he was there for like 13 seasons. If you break it down, that's only something like 4 a season.
The Celtic Wiki's got it. In the league, he scored 29 goals overall. In the Scottish Cup, he got 11. The League Cup, he got 4. In Europe, he scored 2. A grand total of 46 goals in all competitions for captain, leader, legend, Scott Brown. There you go.
Fair play. Cheers for doing that, Phil. That jazzed up the Monday club for me. But we could maybe do a bit of sudden death every Monday. Aye, we'll do a wee bit of sudden death every Monday from now on, Phil. Well, you can dive on some sudden death. That was good.
Well done, Mark. You've got the trophy for the first
well
week.
Done, mate.
He never loses. I don't think this man's ever lost a quiz in his life. It's ridiculous.
No.
Time for a sing song, Mark.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Thanks to all my lovely fans and the viewers. I love these all, singing at me.
Thanks to everyone in the comments. As always, it has been a jam-packed Bhoycie bus yet again. Big thanks to Phil coming on doing the quiz. And of course, a big thank you to Judge Cairney and Jonathan as well. We will be back next Monday. Jonathan, I think we'll just stick to me and you next week.
We didn't want Mark anymore. We invited him this week anyway.
I've been bored off.
Emily, good night. We will see you all later. Thanks again to everyone in the comments. Do hit the like button, do hit share and subscribe, and I can't even know what I'm trying to say.
And all that good stuff.
All that good stuff, indeed. Here's Chris Sutton.
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now, and you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan.